One of the things that you must remember is that there is a difference between actions and proceedings in remedial law. Law students generally tend to interchange these two words, but I advise you to stick to the technical legal meaning of these words because that will help you understand the why. This in turn will help you remember the rules. Remember, if you understand the reason for the rules, you will remember the rules even better. Actions and proceedings are two very different concepts. I always tell my students that words are important, especially in law, and this is what I mean. When you think of the word action, you think of something going on. There are people fighting each other, people contending against each other. The claimant is called the plaintiff, while the person against whom the claim is made is called the defendant. In thinking of the word action, you have to understand this in the light of the phrase cause of action. Cause of action is the reason for bringing the action before the court. Since it is the plaintiff who files the case, he is the one who must have a cause of action, a reason for filing the case. Rule 2, Section 2 of the Rules of Court says, a cause of action is the act or omission by which a party violates a right of another. Now, there are elements that the claimant must prove in order to win an action. My professor, the late Professor Alfredo F. Cadyar, has a memory aid for this, and it is ROVID. R-O-V-I-D. R for right of the plaintiff, O for obligation of the defendant, V for violation by the defendant of the plaintiff's right, and I for injury, D for damage. In several cases, the Supreme Court has enumerated three elements of a cause of action. Number one, the plaintiff's right by whatever means and under whatever law. Number two, the defendant's obligation to respect such right. And number three, act or omission by the defendant that violates the plaintiff's right or causes a breach of the defendant's obligation. What about a proceeding? Okay. A proceeding, according to the rules of court, specifically a special proceeding, is a remedy by which a party seeks to establish a status, a right, or a particular fact. Here, there are no contending parties. The parties are not fighting against each other over the violation of a right. The petitioner is asking the court to render a decision recognizing a status, right, or particular fact. Note, he is petitioning, not complaining. In effect, he is praying. So a petition is a supplication. He is asking. For example, guardianship is a special proceeding. In this case, the petitioner is asking the court to recognize two things. Number one, that a person comes within the definition of an incompetent under Rule 92 of the Rules of Court. And number two, that another person named is qualified to act as a guardian. See, in this case, the petitioner is not fighting against the prospective one. Now, this brings up a very important point about how the parties are called in these cases. Do not interchange the terminologies. In a civil action, the one who brings the action is called the plaintiff, and the one who is sued is called the defendant. So the word plaintiff comes from an old French word that means complaining, wretched, miserable, aggrieved. Now, the other party, the party who is sued, is the defendant because he has to defend himself against the claim of the plaintiff. In special proceedings, the person bringing the case is called the petitioner. Like I mentioned earlier, a special proceeding involves a petition. The petitioner is asking the court for something. Therefore, he is the petitioner. He is petitioning. He is bringing a petition, which is a request and not an action. And therefore, the other party is merely responding. That is why he is called the respondent. If he is opposing the petition, he will be called an oppositor. Still not a defendant because he is not defending himself from any claim. All right, so with this, you can see that there are very important differences between actions and proceedings in remedial law. Actions are not equal to special proceedings. Okay, so that's all for now, and I will be seeing you again soon.